Israel's war on Gaza has entered its sixth month. At least 30,717 people have been killed since October the 7th. South Africa has asked the United Nations top court, the ICJ, to impose new emergency orders on Israel to allow humanitarian aid into Gaza. Joining us now here in studio is Omar Ashour. He's a professor of security and military studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. So many areas to focus on at the moment, Omar. I just want to sort of go to where we are in terms of the various UN officials and diplomats across Europe assessing and having warned Israel of settlement expansion. They announced more settlement expansion in the last 24 hours. It's like a red rag to a bull, isn't it, to the Palestinians and to the Islamic community to see this happening when there's also talk of a potential two-state solution sometime in the future?
Absolutely. It's further insults to injuries. And we know 7th of October came because of, partly because of the settlement activities, partly because of the escalations in Jerusalem, and partly because of the unresolved history of this conflict. And of course, this is basically taking us into a similar escalation, a similar round of escalation. So I don't know. It does not. It means that a peaceful resolution for this conflict is just getting further and further away, if it will ever be existing. Various
organisations have called it like a powder keg waiting to explode. Really, there's that much anger in the region, especially in the occupied West Bank.
Yeah, it's the occupied West Bank at the moment. You see a bit of an escalation at the moment. You see some rotation even from some of the special forces units in Gaza towards West Bank. There's sometimes they send forces, specialized forces from the Gaza Strip to the West Bank, and sometimes they withdraw them from the West Bank to Gaza. So, which means that we're going to see a bit of more escalation in both places, mainly because of these settlements policies.
As you talked about the escalation over the past several months, even post-October the 7th, we've seen an increase in Israeli raids, attacks, shootings of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Yet, there was no Hamas in the occupied West Bank. The attacks into Israel did not come from the occupied West Bank, yet Israel has gone in yet again even more heavy-handed than normal.
The issue was never Hamas. The issue is bigger than Hamas. Even in the Gaza Strip at the moment, we're talking about 6-7 Palestinian organizations. In the West Bank, Hamas has some presence, but it's not a dominant presence. But there are other organizations as well that launched it was sort of an insurgency in the West Bank, and the Israelis were more or less following a very harsh counterinsurgency policies in that sense. If the settlement continue, if the settlement activities, occupation activities continues, I think there will be more and more resistance in that direction, and some of that resistance will be violent, and then we'll see another cycle. Or we're seeing another cycle at the moment. It will just escalate in terms of its intensity, scale, and scope.
We shall see what happens only again in the coming days now. So for the moment, Omar Ashour, thanks for joining us from the Doha Institute.